The MCU has not been one of the most iconic franchises with its movies and shows, at least back when the Infinity Saga was happening. It was a time where the superhero genre was entering for a new age for Marvel, which led into some of the other projects that came from it. Though unlike what they had before with like the Disney Plus shows, they were never considered canon unless Kevin Feige, the almighty god, said so. Stuff like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Inhumans, Runaways, and Cloak and Dagger. But the shows that ended up becoming the most popular and the most loved that wasn't canon to the MCU, but now it slowly is, were the Marvel Netflix shows. When Netflix was an actual good streaming platform, and it actually had shows on it, it had Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Punisher, and the Defenders Limited series. These shows would go to serve as their own little world, where the Avengers would fight the battles that the ordinary man couldn't. These people would have to constantly fight on the ground for themselves. While some possess the traits of being a hero in some capacity, when you take a step back to see how they really are, you'll realize that they are not their worst enemies. At least not intentionally. Each of the series has their own theme, style, and setting, despite all being in the Big Apple, aka New York City for the millionth time. But there is one theme that is constant throughout all of them, which is the idea of a hero, and how often it is twisted. The life of one is a struggle to achieve, believe, discover, earn, and become. I'll be talking about each of the heroes on here and their development on their means of a hero. This also means I can't talk about the Defenders series on its own, since it's the only time that we have so far that they have done a team up. So think of it as like an extension of their own stories wrapped along with the others. With that being said, let's talk about the city's greatest and flawed defenders. Matt Murdock, the blind lawyer of Hell's Kitchen by day and a vigilante Daredevil by night, epitomizes the inner conflict between law and vengeance. Haunted by Catholic guilt, the loss of his father, and his own sense of moral clarity, Murdock is constantly torn from between saving his city and preserving his soul. His powers, heightened the senses of his absence of sight, are both his gift and curse, intensifying his awareness of every scream and every cry for help, meaning if he were to blast funk music, he would have no choice but to actually listen to it. Daredevil's struggle is fundamentally spiritual. He often questions on whether or not he fights for justice or he simply enjoys the violence, revealing a almost profound inner darkness within him. This is actually kind of told to us in the first episode of the series, as his family is often rumored to have the devil inside of them when it came to violence.
She used to say, "Be careful of the Murdoch boys. They got the devil in them."
During his childhood, he believed that he was all alone. He had no one else in his life to guide him, with the exception of the people of like Father Lantom and the Catholic Church. He grew up thinking that God made the mistake blinding him, as he would hear constantly of people in mass prayer for an answer, for someone to save them. This would eventually lead him to eventually become Daredevil, a masked man who will beat up anybody to protect the city, yet will want to see these criminals change their ways if he could find out a way for them. Matt believes that the law should work, yet isn't blind to the reality that, much like our own, that the system will only work for those that have all the power over you. The system that is meant to help those that are innocent are all in to bear in some way their own sin. Matt believes that redemption should be possible for all those that have done wrong, but when he sees an evil like Wilson Fisk, it tends him to beat him up till he can't stand up. It pisses off Matt to no extent that the idea of wanting to kill Fisk is both something that he wants to do, but knows that this is an action that will change him forever. I know a lot of people don't exactly like the idea of main character trope of he can't kill anybody, and I will be honest, it is sometimes annoying, but in a series like this, it's treated a lot more how it should be in the real world, and it offers a very moral question. Does killing a monster make you the monster? These struggle to be challenged by three people in specific. Wilson Fisk, a monster that tries to disguise himself as a man. Frank Castle, a torture soldier who will kill anyone he seeks no matter the cost. And Elektra, a lover from the past that has the potential to get out from the darkness. The reason I didn't go with people like Karen, Foggy, Stick, or even Bullseye, that although they do challenge Matt in some capacity, I chose these three due to how they kind of relate to his character and the lessons that come from all. Frank Castle is the first vigilante we see in the series to do what Matt won't: kill his enemies. This puts them in odds with one another, because although we do see how similar they are in terms of conviction, belief, and in their trauma, their talk on the rooftop very much lays out the differences in how they go on about it.
You act like it's a playground. You beat up the bullies with your fists, you throw them in jail, everybody calls you a hero, right? And then a month, a week, a day later, they're back on the streets doing the same goddamn thing.
So you just put him in the morgue.
You goddamn right I do.
You ever doubt yourself, Frank?
Not even for a second.
Really? Really? You never think for 1 second, shit, I just killed a human being.
It's being pretty generous.
A human being who did a lot of stupid shit, maybe even evil, but had one small piece of goodness in him. Maybe just a scrap, Frank, but something. And then you come along and that one tiny flicker of light gets snuffed out forever.
I think you're wrong.
Which part?
All of it. I think there's no good in the foot that I put down, that's what I think.
And how do you know?
I just know. Look around, man. This city, it stinks. It's a sewer. It stinks and it smells like shit, and I can't get the stink out of my nose. I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call. That's what I think. I think you and me are the same. We're the same. You know it. Only I do the one thing that you can't. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent. I make sure that they don't make it out on the street again. I take pride in that.
Let me ask you this.
What's that?
What about hope?
Oh, fuck.
Come on, Frank.
About Santa Claus? You want to talk about Santa Claus?
I live in the real world, too,
Yeah.
and I've seen it.
What have you seen?
Redemption, Frank. It's
Ah,
real.
Jesus
And it's
Christ.
possible. The people you murdered deserve another chance.
What, to kill again, rape again? Is that what
No,
you
Frank,
want?
to try again, Frank. To try. And if you don't get that, there's something broken in you you can't fix. And you really are a nut job.
This not only becomes a thought in the back of our heads, but leads to a question as to whether that these characters will ever go and cross that line to make it permanent. Can the one who sinned be forgiven? Elektra is a lover and a superhuman of her own, who trained in nothing but darkness and was only meant for something more than the person she loved. She is what Matt has to deny himself from. They had a connection with one another, and it seemed like they could have been extremely happy with one another, but each of them bring out something that they never wanted. She knows what Matt is, that Daredevil is a part of that life, but she wants to do good, to try and be good, to see the light that Matt wants to see in others. The reason that this relationship never worked out was that she thought that he deserved someone better, and that thought he was too good for her. It's this interesting road that they take, where although they go in different directions, it's a similar path, just reversed. Matt is a light in a city full of darkness, and Elektra is a black sky who finds the light. It adds into Matt's disnature, as all the people he makes connections with will always be in trouble or just in constant danger. It's why that he keeps the persona that he has outside from people like Foggy and Karen and others. Even when he reveals his identity to the other heroes and the Defenders, he isn't all too great with being with other people. In fact, throughout the Defenders specifically, Matt tries to prove that he doesn't need to be the Daredevil, to try and let the legal system do its thing. But when things like the Hang get involved, or that the system fails to actually uphold justice, it sends us a message that Daredevil is what the city needs, not what it wants. When he does join up with the other heroes in New York, it's not only refreshing to him that there are others like him that will help out, but in classic Daredevil fashion, he feels like he has to carry the sin of his home all on him. Even when Elektra is fully the Black Sky, Matt makes the sacrifice to be with her, showing that he's willing to see the light in someone that is completely turned dark.
What if, from now on, if we make it, wherever you run, I run with you.
You're not serious.
I've never been more serious. This, Elektra, this is a part of me that I need. And you're the only one who gets it. Without this, I'm not alive. I'm not really. And I know that now, thanks to you. I don't know what we are together. And if we have any chance in the future, I don't. But I do know that I'm free with you. Like with no one else.
You hide from yourself. You You don't let anyone in.
You. I let you in.
The last one that has the most impact on him is Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. He is everything that Matt hates, a manifestation of someone that is deceptive, calculating, cruel, and will use every tool in his disposal to ensure he reaps all the benefits for a life that he tries to achieve. I've said it before on how that he's a monster disguised as a man, but it's better to call him a devil in disguise. Someone that you wouldn't dare to make a deal with despite how much that it would help you in the end. We see this impact that Fisk leaves with people that want out or try to expose him. Some were incredibly unlucky or were just never involved in Fisk's operation and paid the price, either being murdered, committing suicide, or having to comply with Fisk on every turn, resulting you to be completely and utterly loyal to him. But he doesn't just do this for his empire that he wants, or just as a result for vigilantes and superhumans coming out of nowhere in the world. It's simply due that he desires human connection, and the one person that he has become smitten with is the only one to grow fond of, is Vanessa. She is the ball that shackled Fisk on every motive. He craves for the connection that he sees and wants, doing everything to ensure the life that he wants to show to her is the life that they will have. But we see throughout that Vanessa wants to be in his criminal life, to no longer hide anything, for her to see the real Fisk without this air of vagueness. And at the same time, we see Fisk struggling as much in the same vein with Matt, unable to decide on which one is his real self, the face they show in public or the one that involves violence. In fact, Fisk's backstory is incredibly similar to Matt in terms of their father figures and the sins that barred of each of them. Every action is a result of him being of a man that was doused in violence that has surrounded him his whole life, which shapes him into being the kingpin that he is. When hearing about Fisk, you understand why Matt hates him so much that killing him seems like the best option. But, as we already established, Matt would not want to kill any of his enemies, even if he seriously hates them. It's an action that he views as wrong, and yet when he gets that chance to very much beat him up, when he's very much almost resulting to give out the devastating blow, he lays down and confronts his fears that kept him from being the way that he is.
You want me to kill you? No person can keep me. You know that. Come on! Kill me! No! God knows I want you. But you don't get to destroy who I am. You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage, knowing you'll never have Vanessa. That this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you. You keep my secret, and you won't harm Karen Page or fucking Nelson or anyone else. Because if you do, I will go after your wife.
Matt had given up on any kind of real life, and was even suicidal at least at the start of season 3. Whether sparing Fisk was right or wrong simply wasn't part of the decision. He's doing it because he's trying to save himself. And with Matt very much finding his workaround, he saved his own soul. Yet we know in some way that Fisk will try to take over the city in some way, it's only stalling. Like Sisyphus, he's punished for what he holds himself from doing, bringing out justice. This is expanded more in the reboot of Daredevil Born Again, where we see an event cross the line that Matt fully left the Daredevil costume. Some time has passed and we see that Fisk has become mayor of the city, and the two meet up and share a coffee with one another. This scene perfectly captures the two, as it really shows how similar they are with their convictions, but also how they go about wanting for the best of the people of the city.
You're a real man of the people now.
A rich man, by his very nature, is self-serving. A mayor serves his city.
Huh.
You don't seem entirely convinced.
Can you blame me? Considering you've tried to kill me a few times over the years.
As you have.
No. Incarcerate, maybe. Kill? Never.
I wonder if your darker half would agree.
That part of my life is over. Mayor of New York.
Soon.
So, answer me this. Why is it I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system?
Things are not good out there. You can see that, can't you?
New York's what it's always been. With a few unsettling exceptions.
Well, I'm gonna make New York a better future. It's hard. It's hard to come to terms with a violent nature, hating the power that has over us.
I was raised to believe in grace, that we can be touched by the divine and transformed into a better person. So if you say to me that you're a new man, I say fine. But you should know I was also raised to believe in retribution.
We see how Fisk and Matt wear this mask, where they get to ask the question, is their true selves a burden or a release? In a way, Daredevil is that needed evil. It's an addiction that he cannot stop. A hero for the downtrodden, but it's a demon that will constantly fight him, hoping that his rage and violence that he has within him can find peace and justice that he looks for, that can bring mercy on the innocent, redeeming those who lost their ways, and to find it in ourselves that we may have a demon inside all of us. The only thing we can do is to give light when it's surrounded by darkness. Daredevil is a series about the sins that we carry onto us, the walls that we may find, and the way we combat the evil not just in the world around us, but also inside, to make that we can forgive, find, and redeem ourselves.
Mistake was thinking I was immune to the darkness. And I let it creep inside me. I let the dark power me. The truth is, I didn't know who I was anymore.
Jessica Jones is the antithesis of the polished superhero, and is also a personal favorite of mine. I know we all clap when the blind dude is beating up a man the size of a dam, but she honestly became my favorite within her show. Jessica is a private investigator with superhuman strength and a drinking problem. She isn't driven by duty, but more or less by trauma. If there were a ranking of which heroes have suffered more, I'd say Jessica deserves to be on that list because it'd be a crime not to. Jessica is at first cold, distant, crass, and is not much of a people person. But when looking through the show, it becomes less of if Jessica can solve a case, and more if she can find any semblance of happiness. The show deals with the themes of victims, both in the way that we see victims as people that need to be protected, but also how we can be victims of our own selves and never realize it. The reason Jessica became a PI wasn't only due to that she wouldn't be thinking about her past, but in a way to give those who are victims a chance to get their life back in some way. It's not going to be perfect, but it's better than sitting around and doing nothing. Some would say that her doing this would make her a superhero in her own right, but she would shoot that down faster than the screen time for Taskmaster did in the Thunderbolts. She rejects the label of a hero, knowing it carries expectations that she cannot bear to meet. Yet she helps others not because she must, but because she sees in them the pain that she refuses to confront herself. Her experiences with Kilgrave, a manipulative villain who controls minds and bodies, left her emotionally broken and incredibly distrustful. Heroism for Jessica is not about capes or catching bad guys. It's survival. The cast in and of itself are people that are victims in their own rights, like Malcolm, an addict that wants approval for himself and from others while battling all kinds of gratifications, and Jerry Hogarth, a no-nonsense lawyer who refuses to see herself be a victim of anything that she can't have in her black heart. Even the villains themselves reflect this idea as well. Kilgrave feels like he's a victim of his treatment, thus what he does is justified. Elisa was a victim of unresolved trauma, which led to the actions of her being denied of the one thing she loved. And Gregory Salinger, a serial killer who believes that he was a victim of a cheated world, punishing those with talents, gifts, and special abilities in the name of his own twisted version of justice. All of these are in some way that we can be seen or be victims. It's one thing that makes us vulnerable, but it can make us feel that we hold no power over anything, that everything bad will always win, and while it's true in our real world similarly, it shows us the danger of how it can affect us and the people around us. It's one to be a victim, to believe the whole world isn't concerned with you. It's another to not realize of your own faults, your own actions, and consequences that come with it. And this is shown in not with one character in specific that fits the bill to a T. Trish Walker, a child-born celeb that was told to change the world, to owe the world back for her perfect talents, yet it only led to her own world to crumble around her. She's the opposite of Jessica in a lot of ways, mainly that she wants to have the attention and do good for being a hero, but it only leaves her feeling that as if the world won't acknowledge it. It's not intentional, it's on purpose. We see how that this need to do right by her selfish mindset that was drilled in by her mother, and her jealousy with Jessica's powers, thinking that she doesn't do anything with them, drives her into feeling as if she's powerless. This is evident that her coming into acting at such a young age was due to her lying to the law that her dad hit her and took him away. Now, her dad was abusive mainly towards her mother, who wouldn't call the cops, but it showed that her idea of the ends justify the means mentality was a part of her all along. To her, putting down bad people while committing something bad is or could be as bad is enough for her. They're being punished for doing wrong. But if she becomes like them, then what's stopping others from questioning her intentions, her actions, and her idea of a hero? If she can't do anything, if she can't give the world back what it wants, and it only rewards bad people, then her spiral and descent into being a vigilante was of her own choice. Her being part of Jessica's cases, while it has been helpful, it had led her into thinking that she could be a hero, to try and spread the good word for a world that needs it, but like our real one, it only focuses on what we entertain with stuff that distracts us. If you end up focusing more on the gloom and doom of the world and everything around of it, you either have that 3D skeleton mentality or have a mental spiral on a podcast that is eventually the equivalent of that one girl on Twitch. You know the one, exactly.
But if we don't try, then what the fuck is stopping us from just throwing ourselves off a bridge and giving up and saying, yeah, the planet is dying, the government hates us, the animals are leaving, the aliens aren't contacting us, we might be alone.
Her and Jessica's friendship is one part sweet yet sour, a tragedy that leaves them with nothing to feel. In a way, she is a victim of her own success, as Conquest would put it. Or she is basically the saying of, you can either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It's why that Jessica never claims or likes the idea of a hero. It sets a standard that she is well aware that she cannot show in public viewing. She admits the faults that are deserved, and will want to be sure that she can correct it with how it goes. It plays into a lot of her own personal issues as well. In a scene where Salinger has her tied and ready to be photoed for the truth, Salinger wants her to confess for being a cheater. This isn't new to Jessica and she knows what game he's playing, but Salinger hits on the head with her saying that she doesn't want to be a hero. Deep down, in some way, she wants that to be true. That everything that has happened to her wasn't a cruel joke. That her having these skills, powers, and trauma wasn't all for nothing. It's her greatest fear. She cares for people, victims, and people that were discarded to never be cared for. She isn't a hero, but her deep desire to find a life where she can have someone or something becomes harder and harder as her job and her life essentially become merged and become one. You know how that like Spider-Man saves others at the cost of Peter Parker losing the people closest to him? It's essentially that, with the only difference is that Jessica Jones has no mask. Whenever she may win, she loses more. In keeping with the theme of victims, she is a victim of surviving, loss, and trauma. Blames herself for the events that happen and will drink herself to the bottom of a bottle because alcohol is her only best friend that has yet to be taken away from her. In Defenders, there's not too much in her development, with the only thing that she does know is that the other heroes like Daredevil, Iron Fist, and her acquainted Noah of Luke Cage are willing to help, which almost brings out her hero-likeness to step up. Even Luke mentions on how that both of them could have called to keep up with No, but with Jessica, she wouldn't want anybody around because every fight is a personal one for her. Jessica's darkness isn't just in her memories, it's her self-loathing, her isolation, her inability to connect. Jessica's reluctant heroism challenges the notion that power alone defines a hero. Instead, it's the decision to act, however imperfectly that matters. Jessica lives in the moral gray with no clear answer for a happy ending, for her or for anyone. Yet all these characters will continue on trying. And it's interesting how they end her show in the train station with the departure and arrivals in between them and her standing in the middle. But as soon as she realizes that giving up on this PI life will become someone else's problem, she knows that she'll have to stay and be ready, ending with a smile on her face, as if to say that she is finally coming into her own story, finding herself and leaving it behind. At least that's my interpretation of what it meant. And if you to think differently, then, like so many others in the series, who are we to judge?
I can control myself. I'm more powerful than you ever were.
Luke Cage, the bulletproof man from Harlem, wears his abilities are like armor, both literally and metaphorically. Wrongfully imprisoned and experimented on, Cage emerges with unbreakable skin, but a deeply fractured sense of justice. Unlike the others, Luke's heroism is rooted in community. He becomes a symbol for Harlem, bearing the weight of a neighborhood's hopes, fears, and expectations. At first, he's someone that wanted to be left alone, to work at the barbershop and to help out his fellow brother and sisters. That is until the Switzerland of his home is given the Swiss cheese treatment and that Harlem's crime has a past that keeps being brought back, leaving him no choice but to step on and navigate through the crime world. Now, I know that I'm not much of a scholar in Harlem lore, I probably skipped that class, but I did like how in the show they made Harlem this small sector of a huge city into one that is actually rich with history, and the people that very much are in it are trying to look out for one another in the best way that they can. And we see how that each of these individuals do care for Harlem in one way or another. And the one person that cares as much about Harlem as Luke does is Misty Knight, a police detective who cares for the people of Harlem, yet is determined to bring justice to those that harm her or her friends, even if it means that her sense of justice is challenged by everyone. This show talks a lot about the idea of respect and what it means to everyone. We all want to be respected, to know why we should be respected. This is seen a lot within the four villains that Luke Cage confront. Cottonmouth, a black man that believes that fear earns respect of his blood money. Diamondback, a man that felt denied the respect of his father. Mariah Stokes, a woman that wanted to be a respected healer for Harlem, only to fall in her poisonous crime past. And Bushmaster, a Jamaican man that seeks vengeance against the Stokes family in hopes for his family to be given respect. In a lot of ways, these four not only show the dangers of being a symbol, but how that even with the intentions that you believe is right, can often corrupt those that seek for it or walk in that same path. Luke isn't a fool to know that being a symbol is a tall order. In fact, his comeback for being considered a symbol or a hero is a hard thing for him to grasp, since that he's a tall, buff black man with the strength to move a boulder and has unbreakable skin to the point that you start to question why anybody thinks it's a good idea to blast him with a gun. It's like firepower in anime, it never does shit, except in Fullmetal Alchemist. Brotherhood. The real thing in Harlem that he does fight for are the people that make up for it. He sets this almost situation to Daredevil. They fight for each part of their cities. In a similar manner, they want those in the city to find redemption, to make their homes better. It's why that in Defenders he teams up with the other heroes due to his people in Harlem being involved in something that can get them killed. He will always look out for his community above all else. And we see this sacrifice in a lot of ways, where he has no choice but to be a symbol and Harlem's protector by dipping his toes into filling the spot that the other four villains try and claim, Harlem's Paradise. A club that not only serves some excellent songs and some delicious meals, but it serves as the person who runs the club to represent of who's looking out for Harlem. When Luke has no other choice but to run the club, it represents this temptation of the position that he holds and what he will do, what would change into him, and that if he could be fallen to like all the others, or that he could rise above that and show that the real power and respect is the man that wields it, promising people for better days. Cage faces not only supervillains, but the complex realities of systematic racism, corruption, and betrayal from within. His struggles is not just against crime, but against becoming the very kind of violent man that the world expects him to be. Luke's darkness lies in the responsibility he carries, not just to protect people, but to embody a higher moral standard. His heroism is not just about what he can do, but what he must not do, even when vengeance tempts him.
Your strength is from God, Carl. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But with that kind of power comes its share of pain.
I know that.
Science, magic, God. That power flows from within, from inside. What comes out when that pressure is heaviest? That's the real magic. That's what defines being a man. That's what defines being a hero.
Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, is perhaps the most naive of the five, and is by far the most hated when talking about him in any way. Trained in the mystical city of Kunlun to be a living weapon, he returns to New York to reclaim his family's legacy, only to find himself torn between two worlds. His identity is constantly in flux. He is a billionaire, a monk, an outcast, a savior, and with it, his understanding of heroism becomes a lot more complex. I know people hated the show a lot, and I'll be honest, it's not bad, at least in the first season. Second one was a bit weak. In the show, we learned that Danny Rand becoming the Iron Fist is a double-edged sword. The fist allows him to be given purpose, to defeat the hand. We see that his sense of worth and importance is on whether or not he can use the Iron Fist to protect his home, even in his personality where he behaves like a 10-year-old child to his new surroundings, but also has this wisdom that can be meaningful. Danny's eternal darkness stems from his arrogance and impulsivity, which often causes a lot more harm than good. This is evident with his time getting back in business with the Rand Enterprises, with people like Ward Meacham, a narcissist who struggles with his need of company, and Joy Meacham, who wants to find her identity to give her purpose meaning. We see that he can't function like a normal CEO or businessman. Money is something that he can just throw away if it means to help someone, which is why that the person that does help him feel the most at home is Colleen Wing, a martial art teacher who values her community and is resilient enough to fight for it. They're also my favorite underrated couple. We see him doing this job not only in the Iron Fist show, but in Defenders as well. When Danny does team up with the other heroes, they're not all thinking of doing a team, but Danny does insist that they were brought here in for a reason. In a meta way, yeah, they're here to save the city, but having him be the one to want to make a team does tie with his need for purpose, and it gives the idea that the other heroes may also have their own unique purpose. They just don't know yet. A purpose can be anything, and Danny Rand, after the events of Defenders, with the hand gone and making a promise to Daredevil to protect the city, he's stuck at a crossroad. With no hand, the Iron Fist's mission is complete. But if Danny can't defend the city even without the Iron Fist, then what is he? It's the same yet different struggle that he had in both seasons of the show, at least the opposite of each one. This duality is well shown that what Danny could have been within the two villains of each season, Harold Meacham and Davos. One being of a businessman who will kill competition and use his family for his own power, and a warrior that believes that he's worthy of holding power in spite of his doubt telling him that he isn't. They represent Danny's inner struggle, the yin and yang that leads him in the center, and we see that his growth isn't him making his purpose to have meaning, but to adjust and find your own meaning and purpose. It's not only the lesson that almost all the characters in the show learn, but it allows them to not be blinded by what's in front of them, to look inward, to know who you are. Iron Fist shows us that the path to heroism isn't linear. It's often marked by self-doubt, mistakes, and unintended consequences.
It all comes down to a core question. How do the most important people come into your life? Is it blind chance? Or is it fate?
Frank Castle is perhaps the most morally controversial figure in this group. A former soldier whose family was murdered in a criminal conspiracy, Castle becomes the Punisher, waging a brutal one-man war against all crime. Unlike the others who make it clear to not kill anyone with their own hands, Frank does this as if it were a part of him. He kills with calculated precision, believing that some evils can only be answered with death. We have seen exactly how he and Daredevil are at odds with how they go about it, but when following his story, we see exactly how that in someone like Castle, he may be the only one to get real justice. His darkness is not a side effect, it's his method. He operates outside the law, unbound by the rules that restrict other heroes, and yet Frank's pain, his deep-seated grief, gives him this strange sense of moral clarity. He is what happens when justice fails and trauma festers. Now, to the people who are going to say that, bro, he's literally me right now, you're not. The first season deals with him trying to lay low and move on with himself. But once he gets involved when helping a young man who made the wrong group of friends, his past not only gets unraveled, but we see exactly that the people that took away his family are no better than him. There's no one in the show that better excludes this than Billy Russo, a military man that is only concerned with his appearance, status, and the power that he can influence on others. He believes that what he did earned him the life that he had, when in all reality, and in classic America fashion, they hid the truth from the country just so they can save face. In the second season, he has to help a girl that got involved with the wrong people, being chased by a hitman that we soon learn is in a similar position to Frank. This season especially goes deeper with how anytime someone is forced to kill someone, it has them questioning their own morals. If I take away one's life, do I also deserve to die? Frank Castle and Billy Russo are similar in many aspects, like working outside the law, a one-man army, and are cutthroat. But the differences that lie between the two of them is that Castle is a man that kills people that have done evil and have done wrong. Kills those who will never change who they are. And we see that in his development that not only every answer doesn't need to be said with a gun, but there are moments where he is willing to listen, to navigate the way that he wants to do things, so that other people can meet the exact same goal as he can. We even see that most of the people that he surrounds himself with are people that are like Frank in some way. It's just that they have a second chance to do things differently in the positions that they are in. This is shown with people like Micro, a ghost in the city that has the chance to be with his family, Amy, a girl that dove into crime that is leaving her drowning, Curtis, a soldier who wants to help out veterans in their time of need, and Agent Donnie, a homeland agent that is starting to get real justice no matter what. Despite that her character isn't exactly fitted for the job, she's in a position where she wants to be able to do what Frank does, but knows that her job would not allow it. It's much harder for her to do and for anyone else to commit. Yet we see throughout the show that she silently endorses Frank more to punish those that have only brought war to their homes, but to realize that Frank may be a monster to those who cross his path, but he cares for people and will protect them even if it means you have to witness his bloodshed. Frank is an anti-hero in the traditional sense that he'll do right for the right reason, but the way he'll go about it is only an issue if you choose to accept for who he is. A scene that stands out to me a lot is that when he comes back from the trailer after visiting the gravestone of his family and says this to his group.
You know, if you'd asked me once, I would have told you I was pretty much just like anyone else. And all I really gave a shit about is that my family was healthy, happy. That I lost them. Everything changed. I thought I became something different. But last night, I had a little chat with my wife. I sat by her grave and I realized something. You know, this is always who I was. Maria. She knew. She knew what I was. She loved me anyway. I'm not like you people. You know, I can do things you can't do. Whatever that makes me. Makes me. Let me be what I'm meant to be.
It's here where he and I realized that he never became the Punisher due to his time in the war or to tragedy that befell his family. He was always like this from the very beginning, and his wife Maria knew that and accepted him all the same. The Punisher is a cautionary warning that we think it's okay to kill what we deem as evil, and if we are in that mentality, are we okay accepting that we are better than them? I wouldn't even say that Frank is trying to say that, because he says this himself when confronted by people, specifically cops, that are inspired by him, to think that they can be judge, jury, and executioner.
Hey. Hey, you're fucking mine, you know that? You're a bunch of clowns, you know that? Think you know my pain? What do you know about me? How I see the world? You know how I see the world? A bunch of clowns. I ain't gonna serve with you. I won't fucking piss on you if you were on fire, you got that?
Frank and his show pose the difficult question: is a man still a hero if he becomes what he hates to destroy it? Hey, I can show my face now. When first starting on these series of shows, I kind of thought I would feel at least appreciation for a lot of these shows, since they very much are holding up now, at least into the MCU. Yet, when I do very much kind of watch them, and now that I have very much finished all of them, I do kind of miss the fact that I very much did one, because it really just became the most interesting stuff around there, and I understand exactly why it was fared in by a lot of people, especially nowadays. Each of these heroes bring in their own unique sense of their struggle, something that is fundamentally human, and that's something that we all try to obtain or trying to like fight in for ourselves. We can recognize the devil inside of ourselves. We can be the victims of our own fears. We can be a symbol of power and feel as if we earned it. We can find our purpose as long as we balance it. And we can surround ourselves in a lot of violence, yet we know where our morals will stand. Each of these heroes is both a lesson that we must take in, and also a warning for ourselves if we do not very much take what they say. That no matter or not, if you are a hero or you aren't, someone out there is going to defend people that are very much down below, and because they know what it's like. And I think that's kind of not the beauty of what the Defenders series just are. They are normal people like you and me, that are very much defending those that will never defend anybody else. And I do very much respect that in a lot of ways, at least for the Netflix series, because it did legitimately became not some of the favorite stuff about it, and I think it's kind of nice that the MCU is at least making it canon with stuff like Daredevil Born Again. I am honestly a lot more hyped for those aspects of it than I am for things of like Doomsday and Secret Wars. Like, okay, like listen, you got the X-Men in there? Okay, fine. We've seen it like sometimes. That, like, you know, anything else? Spider-Man teaming up with the Punisher? That's some shit I actually want to see. That's something I want to see. I'll be seated on that one. It's also why I've kind of been absent for a while, because I've been wanting to watch these shows and be able to like write them down and very much catch up to all of them and understand exactly where it is so I can write this and make the video. And yeah, that's really all there is. I'm kind of experimenting a lot on this channel just to see exactly where it kind of goes, and I don't know, I guess I should have a thing for video essays. Is this what you even call it? What you even consider a video essay? Maybe I should make an essay on that essay. Who knows? But yeah, that's really all there is to this video. Bye bye.